Why can't we breathe in space? The truth about the vacuum. Have you ever wondered what would happen if we tried to breathe in space? No suits, no oxygen, just you and the vacuum. Could the human body survive, even for a few seconds? Spoiler: the answers are as fascinating as they are terrifying. Let's explore what makes space so hostile, why our bodies depend so much on oxygen, and how we're overcoming these barriers to live beyond Earth. And here's a fun fact. Did you know even saliva can boil in space? That's just the beginning of the curiosities that will keep you hooked until the end of this video. Discover what happens to your lungs, skin, and even blood in a vacuum, how astronauts manage to survive in orbit, and the technologies that could take us to Mars or even farther. Stay with me to uncover the secrets of space that even movies can't show. Ready to embark on this journey into the unknown? What is space? The vacuum and its nature. Imagine space as a huge invisible sea, but unlike Earth's seas, which are full of water, space is almost completely empty. Here on Earth, we're surrounded by a layer of gases called the atmosphere, made mostly of nitrogen, oxygen, and small amounts of other gases. This atmosphere allows us to breathe and live comfortably. Now, space is different. It's what we call a vacuum, a region with almost no matter. There's no air, no wind, not even sound. Curious, isn't it? Without air, there are no particles to carry sound, which means if you scream in space, no one will hear you. Both cool and scary at the same time, right? But how did space become like this? Well, it all began with the Big Bang, when the universe started expanding billions of years ago. Particles and gases spread out so much that in most of space, they're incredibly far apart. That's why space seems empty, but it actually has some particles and radiation moving around, just in amounts so small we can't feel or use them. One more thing, even though space seems empty, it's not entirely silent. Some radio waves, light, and even subatomic particles are always moving through the universe. It's as if space has its own invisible music. So space is an incredible place, but it's nothing like Earth's friendly environment, which provides oxygen and pressure. And that brings us to a fascinating question. How would our bodies react to the vacuum? Let's find out in the next sections. The role of oxygen in human respiration. Have you ever thought about how special the air we breathe is? It's not just wind, but a balanced mixture of gases, with oxygen being the most important, making up 21% of the atmosphere. That might seem small, but it's essential for our survival. Our body works like a machine that needs energy for everything, from blinking to running. Oxygen is the spark that activates the fuel. It enters the lungs, travels into the blood, and reaches cells, where an amazing process called cellular respiration takes place. Here, oxygen combines with nutrients from food to create the energy we use daily. But what happens without oxygen? In space, for example, there's no air. Carrying huge tanks of oxygen might help for a while, but oxygen needs the right pressure to be absorbed by the lungs. Also, breathing pure oxygen can be dangerous, as it becomes toxic at high concentrations. Here on Earth, the mix with other gases, like nitrogen, keeps the perfect balance. Our bodies are incredibly adapted to Earth, but entirely dependent on it. In space, the absence of oxygen presents fascinating challenges that we'll continue to explore. Pressure in space. What happens to the body? Here on Earth, the atmosphere surrounds us like an invisible cushion, constantly applying pressure on our bodies. Our bodies are fully adapted to this, but in space, that cushion disappears, and the lack of pressure puts the human body in serious trouble within seconds. Without pressure, the air trapped in the lungs tries to escape desperately. If you hold your breath, your lungs could literally explode. In addition, without external pressure, the liquids in your body, like blood and saliva, begin to boil at much lower temperatures, which is extremely dangerous. And the body? It doesn't explode like some movies show. Our skin is tough enough to hold the organs in place, but the body does swell up like a balloon. The most critical issue is the lack of oxygen. Within about 15 seconds, the brain shuts down and you'd pass out. Despite this, it's believed the human body could survive in a vacuum for 1 to 2 minutes before the damage becomes fatal. A 1960s experiment proved this when a spacesuit leaked in a vacuum chamber. The volunteer passed out in 14 seconds but was rescued in time. These tests show how deadly the vacuum is and why spacesuits are absolutely vital. In the next section, we'll look at how they protect us in space. Why can't we take loose air to space? You might be thinking, if the problem in space is the lack of air, why not take a giant oxygen tank? It sounds simple, but it's not. Space, being a vacuum, causes any gas, like oxygen, to spread out immediately. It's like trying to hold smoke with your hands. Impossible. Plus, the oxygen we breathe on Earth is under the perfect pressure to enter the lungs and be absorbed by the body. In space, without atmospheric pressure, oxygen from a loose tank would just disappear into the vacuum. This is why astronauts need spacesuits, which not only provide oxygen, but also create a pressurized atmosphere around the body. Interestingly, the oxygen tanks used in space contain compressed gas at very high pressure. This allows them to store a lot of oxygen in a small space, but also means they must be extremely safe. Even a tiny leak could be fatal in space's hostile environment. Another interesting fact: we don't just breathe pure oxygen. On Earth, the atmosphere is mostly nitrogen, which helps balance pressure in the body. In space, creating the perfect gas mix is a huge technological challenge. Even with all that effort, we still need additional protection. Let's dive into the next topic: the role of spacesuits. The role of spacesuits. A second skin. Spacesuits are like technological armor, transforming astronauts into travelers of the impossible. In space, where there's no air, pressure, or comfortable temperatures, they are literally the only thing standing between astronauts and a quick death. But how do they work? First, spacesuits provide oxygen to breathe and maintain the proper pressure around the body, essentially recreating Earth's atmosphere. Without this pressure, bodily fluids could boil, something we discussed earlier. They also regulate temperature. Space is so extreme that it can range from 120 degrees Celsius in sunlight to 150 degrees Celsius in the shade. A cooling system inside the suit keeps astronauts comfortable. But there's more. Spacesuits protect against micrometeoroids. Even a tiny piece of metal traveling at high speeds could pierce a suit, but their tough layers help prevent this. They also block dangerous radiation from the sun and other parts of the universe. Did you know it takes hours to put on a spacesuit? Every piece is meticulously adjusted to ensure maximum safety. Without them, leaving Earth would be impossible. Now let's explore what happens if you try to face space without a suit. Can you survive, even for a few seconds? The danger of breathing directly in a vacuum. What would happen if you were in space without a spacesuit trying to breathe normally? It sounds like something from a horror movie, but it's a fascinating question. The truth is, our bodies aren't designed for the vacuum of space, and the first thing that would happen is your lungs collapsing. In a vacuum, there's no pressure to keep air inside your lungs. If you tried holding your breath, the trapped air would expand uncontrollably, causing severe damage or even rupturing your lungs. That's why scientists recommend, in extreme situations, exhaling as much air as possible to avoid injury. But even then, you'd only have a few seconds. Without oxygen, your brain would start shutting down quickly. In about 15 seconds, you'd lose consciousness. On top of that, your skin would begin to swell because the gases in your blood expand without external pressure. Interestingly, your body wouldn't explode as shown in movies. Our skin is strong enough to hold our organs in place. However, the swelling would be uncomfortable and harmful. Another scary fact: exposed liquids like saliva and tears could boil due to the low pressure. But this doesn't mean heat. In space, the vacuum causes liquids to evaporate rapidly, even at low temperatures. Surviving in the vacuum of space without a suit is impossible, but it's amazing how our bodies, though so vulnerable, can still endure for a brief moment. This raises the question, how are we overcoming these barriers to explore space for longer durations? Let's find out in the next topic. How are we working to breathe in space? Exploring space is a colossal challenge, but humanity never gives up. Breathing in space, where there's no natural oxygen or atmospheric pressure, seems impossible. Yet scientists and engineers are developing incredible solutions to keep us alive beyond planet Earth. The primary technology used today is life support systems like those in spacecraft and space stations. These systems recycle the air we breathe. For example, when we exhale, we release carbon dioxide, CO2. On the International Space Station, ISS, special machines capture CO2, clean the air, and release reusable oxygen. It's like an artificial lung that never stops working. Another fascinating idea is using plants in space. Plants release oxygen through photosynthesis, which could be essential for long missions. In some experiments, astronauts have already grown lettuce, flowers, and even wheat on the ISS. Imagine a space forest in the future. And what about Mars? Scientists are developing technologies like MOXIE, a device that extracts oxygen directly from Mars' CO2-rich atmosphere. This invention could be a game changer for colonizing other planets. In the future, we might even create artificial atmospheres inside large space habitats. Imagine living in a giant bubble where you could breathe normally, just like on Earth. These ideas show humanity's determination to conquer space, and breathing in such a hostile environment is just the beginning. Space is an inhospitable place, but human curiosity and determination are paving incredible paths to explore the unknown. Who knows? In a few decades, breathing outside Earth might no longer be an issue. If you found this content fascinating, imagine what else we can explore together about the mysteries of the universe. Subscribe to the channel now and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Here, you'll discover curiosities beyond imagination and learn in a simple and fun way. And how about sharing this video with your friends who love science and space? Let's spread this knowledge across the universe together. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what space mystery do you want to uncover in the next video? I'll be waiting for you. Until then, keep looking at the stars.